Hello, everyone. I am really excited today to introduce Steve, who hosts our Friday morning breath sessions. Steve, thank you so much for taking the time today to jump on and have a quick chat with us.
It's an absolute pleasure to be here.
Awesome. I wanted to start today by just introducing the community to, I guess, your story and what has led you to the fifth direction.
Well, my story goes back. Well, it goes back to the moment I was born, I suppose. But my connection with the fifth direction has actually started with the Wim Hof method,
Mm,
which was the Wim Hof method was the beginning of my healing journey. I found myself in a pretty bad way in my early 40s.
mm,
I was pretty sure I was going to die. I was lying in a hospital bed, subconsciously. Actually, my partner Nikki just pointed this out the other day that at a level I was actually trying to stop my own heart. The pain that I
mm,
was not recognizing was so powerful that I was killing myself subconsciously.
mm,
And they discovered I had some sort of inflammatory disorder. They didn't know what it was. They said it was a non-specific rheumatoid arthritis. If there's any doctors in the community, that there's no such thing. Um, but they wanted to give me meds. They wanted to give me
Yeah.
really powerful medicine so that I wouldn't die of rheumatoid arthritis. I would die of something else that was
Mm,
acceptable. So I looked for something else, and the Wim Hof method came on my radar. I started doing it, and it worked. It helped me. It was amazing. But then I wanted to become an instructor for the Wim Hof method. I was an instructor in the fitness and health industry. I travel around North America teaching different fitness modalities and healing. I'm a fascial stretch therapist. Um, which was my day job really.
mm,
So working with people in chronic pain and working with them, understanding that their chronic pain always seemed to have this psycho-emotional
mm,
component to
mm,
it, but not recognizing that in myself, living with chronic pain, but not thinking that was me. It's just
mm.
everybody else. Um, so it took me a while. I'm a slow learner,
Yeah,
but I
I
got
can
there in the
resonate
end.
with that. Yeah.
But what happened actually was on the master module was in Melbourne. Well, it's on the coast, south of Melbourne, in some small town right on the ocean,
Mm,
in Australia. I couldn't make the North American one. I had another commitment, so they let me join the Australian one, which is just amazing of the Wim Hof Method community. And it's amazing to go to Australia. It's such a, you guys are so far away. It's such a long flight. It's incredible. But so I met this incredible group of people there, including Asher. He was
mm,
on that course. He was becoming an instructor as well.
oh,
And during that course, on the first day, our instructors asked us to meditate on our blockage.
mm,
I didn't know what that was. I didn't understand what it was.
mm,
What could that be? Um, I just wanted to become an instructor. And every day we're doing breath work and cold exposure, more breath work and meditation and all sorts of really amazing things, and really bonding with each other as well. And having a, when you have these experiences, when you do breath work with people, you are having a current or you're having a shared experience. You go into
mm,
coherence. Your breath is the same. Your heart is the same. No matter where you are in the world, you are sharing a common experience. So
mm.
it's a really powerful thing. We were doing that all week. So we were all bonded. We were all brothers and sisters by the end. And every day I was trying to meditate on my blockage, not knowing what it was. And on the last day, we had this long session of breath work. It was 90 minutes. We had a future self meditation. And I was feeling really agitated at the end, like something was wrong. I didn't feel right. It was kind of shaky and felt really off. And pushed that down where it belongs. Don't want to feel those. Get them out of the way. Don't feel emotions. Those are bad.
Mm,
And
mm.
you might be guessing what my blockage was. And I got into the ice water for the last time, and I broke down, just burst
Wow.
into tears in this cold. Everybody who's done a breath or done a cold exposure, when you go in, you gasp, "Oh God,
Mm,
oh, what am I gonna do?" And you catch your breath. And it's in that
yeah.
moment where I caught my breath and calmed down, that it just poured out of me.
Wow.
This blockage came roaring out, and I got myself together. I calmed down and got out, and it was Asher. The time I got out, and he was standing watching. There was
Mm,
4 or 6 of us in the water, and I think his turn was next. And I got out, and he looked at me and put his arm around me and said, "Are you all right, brother?" And that was the end. I pretty much collapsed into the dirt on the ground and bawled my eyes out for 2 hours. And that was the first time I had cried in 32 years.
Wow.
Bottled up.
Yeah.
And that was what was driving this pain in my body. And so up to then, I was using breath work as this kind of fun meditation technique. It's making me feel better. I had more energy. The pain in my body was subsiding. I felt pretty good. But this release through breath work and cold exposure and community and somebody witnessing me was my breakthrough. That was the change. That's what changed everything for me, was that emotional breakthrough right there. And everything in my life changed at that moment. Everything.
Wow.
The way I relate to people. I came back to Canada and stepped one foot in the gym where I was working as a fascial stretch therapy. That first day back, I looked around and said, "I quit. I can't be here. I can't be in this space." But and then I was teaching the Wim Hof method around Canada, and then I was working for a meditation studio teaching breath work. And all this time, my breath practice was changing a little bit. Big thing with the Wim Hof method, Wim says, do what's right for you. There's no such thing as the Wim Hof method. It's your method. Do your method, whatever feels right. So every time I do my breath work, it's a little bit different. But there's all these things that were coming up that seemed to be the way I wanted to breathe, and different squeezes, different rhythms. And so I'd look around and I'd study and meet other breath practitioners and find out that this is not new at all. Breath work has been around for a very long time. It's my firm belief that actually breath work was with us when we walked out of that Rift Valley in Africa 250,000 years ago. And we just scattered around the globe and layered our cultural lenses over things, and our gods and everything else, and developed these different breath practices, but it's all the same. It gets you to the same place. And I use my breath to go into that deep state of emotional processing, which led to deeper and deeper and deeper things. And I'm still shocking myself and exploring other modalities of healing through our plant medicine allies and breath and movement and all that stuff. But I was working in a meditation center, and I was really enjoying it. And I think it might have actually just been a moment before the pandemic happened that I was teaching an online breath class for this meditation center, and I reached out to Asher, and I can't even remember why I reached out. I may have seen an Instagram feed. I just reached out and let him know what I was doing. We were doing that every now and then. We really sort of bonded in Australia.
Oh,
we were
wow.
soul brothers. We when you meet somebody and you just know that's your guy or your girl or whatever. It's like that with Asher. So we would always reach out every now and then and just touch base. And I reached out, and one thing led to another, and I taught like as a one-off breath class for the warrior within back in those days. And then we did a few more one-offs, and then it became once a month, and then it was once a week, and it was kind of a pillar of the fifth direction now, is to have this Friday morning or Thursday afternoon for those of us on the right side of the world. But we have this breath class, and it's actually that Friday morning breath class is the highlight of my week.
Wow.
Because I'm still deep in my own healing. I do all sorts of ceremonies for clients and for myself, and a lot of integration. And where the breath practice goes on Friday morning is really what I'm integrating at that moment.
Oh, that's incredible.
And in this community, this fifth direction community, I just feel like I belong, and I can just be vulnerable. I can expose myself, and half the time I'm crying halfway through the breath class. I just let it flow through me and whatever's there, and we all go on this journey together, all on our own paths, but on a shared journey. And then at the end, when we come together and just thank each other and look each other through in our digital eyes, and just express our love for each other. It's it's a really special moment.
Yeah, I've had the privilege of joining a lot of those sessions, especially in the early days. Your sessions cracked something open in me that I don't even know if I can put into words. It was truly transformative and was a catalyst for me to explore this work deeper for myself as well and to learn more about it. So
Mhm.
it's been incredibly life-changing, and I can't encourage people enough to jump into one of Steve's sessions and just experience not just a connection, but also that power of the breath as well. And I guess I'd love to ask, before I give too much away there, what can people expect from those sessions that you run on a Friday morning inside the community?
Well, one of the interesting things about it, when I was doing this live, and I do it live now, if you're ever in Toronto, drop by.
Mm.
But what happened when we switched during the pandemic, when we switched the meditation studio to Zoom classes, is that a lot of the men who are coming to the class are now doing it online, and almost right away they reached out and said, I did it. I broke through.
Mm.
So being in a group of strangers,
Wow.
because it's just like an open studio, and
Mm.
you start to know people, but it's not a community per se. It's just a class with random people in it, and they were holding themselves back a little bit. Going
Yeah.
digital, going Zoom, where you're in the privacy of your own home, and for a lot of people who are a little bit unsure of their emotions, or maybe not very well connected with their emotions, like
Mm.
me, for example, having that privacy allows you to just let go and allow it to come out. So that's really what
Yeah.
you can expect in the breath class, is a release, really getting in touch with what
Mm.
is inside you. We're so we live in such a chaotic and stressful environment all the time, even when we're trying not to be, when we're really good about stress
Mm.
management and work-life balance, with such a thing. But life balance, if we
Mm.
live in harmony and balance, you still have relationships, you still have kids, you still get stuck in traffic, there's still stress all the time. We don't live in, we don't live 20,000 years ago. We're not hunter-gatherers. We
Yeah.
live in a chaotic world no matter what we're doing. So we don't know what's on the inside. We don't know what's underneath those chaotic thoughts. We don't know what's in our heart, because we're not connected to it.
Mm.
We often don't know where the pain is in our body. We're in pain and we don't know where it is. It hurts and I don't know why.
Yeah.
So in the breath class, we turn off all that noise, all the chaos, all the confusion, all the stress, and we look underneath the surface and just observe whatever's there. Um, Thoughts will come and go, feelings will rise and fall, energy in the body will start to move. You might feel shakes and shivers. Um, I really encourage people in the class to make some noise
Mm.
when we do this breath work. We lock the microphones on mute so we don't actually scream in each other's ears. But I really encourage vocalizing,
Mm.
humming, chanting, screaming as loud as you can, and to move your body, to allow yourself to
Yeah.
stretch and to shake and to move around, to let that energy go, to just surrender and to just go crazy. If I can say that word. Just go crazy with your breath and let it out and
Yeah.
see what's there. And that's where the release is. If you ever look at little kids are really good at it. If you watch a little kid having a
Absolutely.
temper
Yeah.
tantrum,
Yeah.
yeah, they just let her rip, right?
Yeah.
But then, what does society do? No, you're not allowed to behave like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And so we learn to bottle it up at a very young
Yeah.
age. And so we spend a lot of time getting in touch with that little lost child that
Mm.
just wants to have a temper tantrum.
Yeah.
And if you have a kid and your child's having a temper tantrum, you don't shout at them and shame them. You hug. Hopefully, you don't. You hug them,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You hug them and you hold them and say it's okay. It's okay to be upset. And
Mm.
so in the breath class, it's okay. It's okay to be
Yeah.
upset. It's okay to grieve. It's okay to be angry. All
Mm.
these are okay.
Yeah.
You have to feel it, and when you feel it and let it rise up inside of you and you let it out, oh, and it's what a relief.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Massive relief. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I remember you saying
that's
in an early class, like when you offered us that permission to make sound, I was like, oh, I can, yeah, I'm allowed to do that. Like
yeah.
it'd been disconnected for so long.
Mhm.
that I didn't even realize I was allowed to do that, and how freeing that would be. So yeah, that was I remember that profoundly. I think it might have been the very first one I did with you. Yeah, it was
Yeah,
quite powerful. Yeah.
yeah.
And you're doing, I know, outside of the fifth direction, a lot of amazing work, especially in Toronto. And I guess I wanted to ask you, what are you offering to the world, and what has, and we may have covered this to a certain degree already, but what has inspired you to put these offerings out into the world?
I've been inspired by my own healing,
Mm,
actually, and sharing my story and giving other people, the permission to access their healing. Healing is
yeah.
inside of us.
Mm,
You don't go somewhere for healing. You just have to access your healing. And so that's what I provide, healing for people. So my company is called Breathing in Nature. So that kind of gives it all away. We go into we go into nature and we breathe, but quite literally. And I've got 3 breath classes that I offer outside of the fifth direction. I have my 3 breath classes of breathing in nature. It's called the Stoic Breath, and there's my Sunday, Tuesday, and Wednesday at different times. It's on the website breathinginnature.com.
cool.
So actually, in theory, I've got one coming up tonight at
Oh,
my 8 p.m., which is going to be your 11 a.m. Something like that's a nice lunchtime breath
yeah.
class.
Good,
Yeah.
very good time.
And then I've got a Wednesday morning class, which would be a Wednesday night class for
Cool.
the Aussies. But and then I do fascial stretch therapy, which is a manual form of healing where I move people's bodies around. Um, and in Canada, we're in a wonderful um, gray area of the law with psychedelics and transformative medicine. So I work a
Mm.
lot in that realm,
Oh,
using
cool.
MDMA and psilocybin
Mm.
and a few other compounds to
Wow.
help to facilitate that. And I sit for people in sacred ceremony with mushrooms. Um, and then we go on wilderness retreats. We do all of this out in the woods. And I worked in the woods for a long time. I was a wilderness guide for quite a long time. I used to take
Oh,
people out there.
wow.
Yeah, and so I'm used to the woods. It's always been sort of my safe place. It's always been in
Mm.
the dark, dangerous woods. So that's where a lot of my healing has always taken place. I've always
Yeah.
been drawn to it. So I take people out there, and we hike, we canoe, um, we winter camp. So we
Oh.
go out there when it's minus 40 degrees, and try not to die. That kind of good stuff.
That's beautiful. I'd love to explore that one day up there. That'd be
Mm,
beautiful to do.
yeah.
Um,
Well, there's no reason why we couldn't organize a Fifth Direction retreat to
that
Canada.
that sounds amazing. I think that should definitely be on the cards. That'd be a beautiful
Mm,
thing to do. Yeah.
mhm.
Cool. We will flag that and we'll bring that up with Asha after
Yep,
this.
for sure. It's just a short flight. It's
Just
fine.
yeah, just a short flight. We'll be fine. We'll be fine. And for anyone who does feel called to your work outside of this community, where can they best contact you? Is the website breathinginnature.com the best place? Are there other
Um,
avenues?
yeah, then my email is on there, but it's steve@breathinginnature.com.
Yeah,
And then I post most of my stuff on social media, Breathing in
cool.
Nature on the Instagrams.
Perfect.
So everything is Breathing in Nature.
Yep. Awesome. Well, be sure to follow Steve through Instagram. Check out his website, which we will have in the description. Stay up to date with his offerings and his classes. Steve, I just want to say an almighty big thank you for taking the time to have this conversation today, for sharing your journey and sharing your gifts with our community. It really means a lot, and we're privileged to have you as part of the Fifth Direction.
Well, thank you. It's an honor to be able to share with this community. Absolute honor.
Thank you, Steve. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. Thank you.